Hey everyone, it's Luke here from LT Gaming. Before I dive into this massive list, it's time to kick off LT Santa for Christmas. I'm doing a 10 key giveaway on this video. All you have to do is highlight a number of the games that you've wishlisted and why in the comments below the video. Then I'll pick some winners from the comments, you can join the Discord and we'll hand out some of the keys. On this particular giveaway, I'm doing it from a batch that me and Tom actually purchased, a lot of classic titles. I think you'll enjoy them. They might even just help round out your library. Today though, we're talking the top 25 space games you need to wishlist for 2026. A big end of year roundup of the space sim, strategy titles and sci-fi projects that I think are really worth keeping an eye on. As always, these lists are community projects, so add any that you think I've missed. It certainly doesn't capture all of them, but we definitely go a little deeper than most other channels. If you enjoy this kind of space content and want to see more of it in 2026, drop a like on the video. It genuinely helps beam this out a little further into the galaxy and lets me keep covering these niche games. Alright, let's jump in. Ephemeris is a turn-based space war game where you lead a civilization across a procedurally generated galaxy, researching tech, expanding to new systems and designing your own fleets. When battles kick off, it shifts into full 3D real-time combat, with physics-driven movement and big clashes between fighters and capital ships. What makes it interesting is that mix of classic 4X planning with proper hands-on space battles. With streamlined management and a fresh tech setup each run, Ephemeris looks like a strong pick if you want something replayable and tactical on your 2026 wishlist. NTL No Time Left is a real-time tactical roguelite where you command a single capital ship caught up in a galaxy-spanning conspiracy. You're routing power between engines, shields, weapons and support systems, fighting in full 3D space with Newtonian physics, and if you need it, the option to drop into tactical pools to line up broadsides, prioritise targets and keep the whole in one piece. This is going to be great because of how reactive each run is to the ship you've built. Your modules, drones, weapons and power setup change how events play out, opening up safer options or tempting high-risk, high-reward plays. And you're constantly salvaging, retrofitting and unlocking new halls that push you towards different tactics. If you like the idea of a tight replayable capital ship command game with real consequences, NTL No Time Left has to be high up that wishlist. Intersolar 83 is a first-person space exploration sim that leans heavily into atmosphere, isolation and the quiet tension of surviving alone among the stars. Set in a bleak, retro-futuristic universe, it focuses on piloting your ship, managing onboard systems and uncovering fragments of story as you drift through hostile space. What makes it worth watching is that mood-first approach. Instead of power fantasy or constant action, it's about vulnerability, immersion and the slow unravelling of what's really going on around you. If you're drawn to atmospheric sci-fi experiences that value tone and discovery over scale, Intersolar 83 is a standout. Spacefleet Heat Death is a hard sci-fi space simulation focused on commanding spacecraft under realistic physical constraints, where heat, power and limited resources shape every decision. Rather than fast-paced action, it leans into deliberate fleet control and system management in a hostile, unforgiving vacuum. It reminds me greatly of the hard sci-fi game Children of a Dead Earth. This one has an uncompromising approach. By treating space as dangerous and operations as fragile, it creates tension through planning and consequence rather than spectacle. For players who enjoy methodical, science-driven space sims, this is definitely one to put on your wishlist, and we did a video on it recently you should definitely check out. Shrouded Suns is a classic space-style combat game built around fast, responsive dogfighting and customizable starfighters, with a single-player campaign at its core. You fly combat missions, tweak your loadouts, and command wingmates in battles that favour immediacy and control over complex simulation. It's one to watch for that clear throwback focus. By prioritising tight flight and straightforward action, it's aiming squarely at players who miss the pure cockpit thrill of older space combat games. If that's your thing, this is a niche but promising one, and we're definitely going to revisit this in the new year. Alliance Tales Battle for the Frontier is a focused story-driven space combat game that puts you in the cockpit for a linear campaign set in the volatile frontier colonies where you're searching for a missing friend amid rising tensions. It's built around mission-based dogfights, clear objectives and a deliberate throwback to classic 90s space combat design. What makes it worth watching is that clear sense of restraint. Instead of chasing open-world sprawl, it leans into tight pacing, replayable missions, and the simple joy of flying and fighting well. With VR support planned and a Q1 2026 release window, it's shaping up to be a clean, confident nod to the golden age of single-player space sims. The Expanse Osiris Reborn is a third-person action RPG set in the Expanse universe, putting you in the boots of a Pinkwater security merc whose shore leave on Eros goes very, very wrong. You'll create and customize your own captain, Earther, Martian or Belter, command a crew aboard one of the most advanced ships in the system, and try to survive a lockdown that spirals into full-blown solar system conspiracy. Hang on a second, that sounds a little bit like a pandemic. Okay, no, let's move on. This one is going to be great for how it leans into character, crew and consequence. Companions have their own scars and loyalties, your decisions shape relationships and political fallout, and combat mixes cover-based shooting with squad abilities and real-time commands. If you've ever wanted a proper story-driven Expanse game, and you know you have, where you actually live with the choices you make, Osiris Reborn is a very natural addition to your wishlist. Battlestar Galactica Scattered Hopes focuses on the raw survival fantasy of the series, putting you in charge of a fragile fleet constantly on the brink of collapse. It's less about empire building and more about managing ships, crews, fuel and morale under relentless pressure, where every jump, encounter and decision carries real consequences. What earns it a wishlist spot is how well it channels Battlestar's trademark tension. Scarcity, hard choices and the feeling that you're always one mistake away from disaster give it weight most sci-fi strategy games lack. This is one to keep an eye on if you enjoy systems-driven survival with genuine stakes, or you're just a massive Battlestar Galactica fan. Possible One Lunar Industries is a real-time strategy simulation set on the moon, focused on building and sustaining a functional lunar industrial network. Rather than traditional base rushing or combat-heavy play, it centers on logistics, production chains, and careful infrastructure planning in a harsh, unforgiving environment. What makes it worth watching is how deliberately specialized it feels. By leaning into realism and long-term efficiency over spectacle, it's carving out a space for players who enjoy thoughtful RTS design and methodical problem-solving. If grounded space industry and strategic planning are your thing, then you should wishlist this one. Nullspace is a story-driven space RTS built around large-scale fleet battles, where you command forces across star systems while wars unfold in real time. It blends high-level strategic control with the ability to drop in and directly command squadrons during key moments. What makes it worth watching is that mix of scale and involvement. Instead of staying purely top-down, it lets you influence battles as they happen, giving fleet command a more personal edge. If you're into space RTS games that aim for cinematic battles without losing player agency, this is a smart wishlist pick. Solar Expanse Space Exploration Manager hands you the keys to a private space program and asks you to quietly take humanity from early rockets to a fully developed solar system. You're planning launches using gravity assist, exploring planets and moons, and slowly building out colonies and infrastructure as the years tick by. What makes this one interesting is the sense of scale. You're not just firing off one-off missions, you're watching centuries of progress, terraforming worlds, dropping and moving asteroids, and eventually pushing out into other star systems. If you like the idea of managing the big picture evolution of space exploration rather than piloting a single ship, this is a very easy one to keep in mind for 26. Hunternet Starfighter is an MMO starfighter sim set in the middle of a massive civil war, built around 6 degrees of freedom combat and proper cockpit flying. You're flying sorties in a persistent universe, helping gather resources, supporting fleets and fighting over strategic locations that shape the wider conflict. You've got to keep an eye on this one because it's that mix of high-skill, flight and long-term player-driven war. It's aiming to be a place you live in as part of a squadron, not just a quick-match arena shooter, which makes it a very tempting wishlist pick if you're hunting for a new PvP-focused space sim in 2026. I also have access to this one and it's pretty damn good. Stellar Trader drops you into a living interstellar economy where success isn't about firepower alone, but about reading markets, managing risk and choosing how you survive among the stars. From trading and hauling to piracy and opportunistic deals, it frames space as a place of commerce first where every decision can open doors or close them just as quickly. What earns it a wishlist spot is that slower, more thoughtful angle. Instead of constant combat, the tension comes from planning routes, reacting to shifting markets, and carving out your own niche in a hostile economy. If you enjoy space games where patience, strategy and smart choices matter as much as reflexes, this is one to keep firmly on your 2026 radar. Star Trek Voyager Across the Unknown puts you in command of the USS Voyager as it fights its way home through the Delta Quadrant, blending crew management, ship systems, exploration and tough narrative choices into a strategy-driven survival experience. You're not just plotting a route on a star map here, you're balancing morale, repairing damage, handling unpredictable encounters, and making decisions that can radically alter each run. What makes this one stand out is how well it leans into Voyager's core premise: isolation, scarcity, and constant risk. The roguelike structure, branching events, and high-stake decisions give it strong replay potential, while the Trek flavour feels baked into the mechanics rather than pasted on. For fans of thoughtful management games and anyone who's ever wanted to actually run a Starfleet ship, this is an easy wishlist pick heading into 2026. Just a quick interlude to say most of you who watch the channel are not subscribed, so make sure to go down below and hit that subscribe button because it helps smaller channels like us grow really quickly, and both me and Tom really appreciate it. Directive 8020 is a supermassive game sci-fi horror thriller, set aboard a deep space mission where paranoia, mistrust and a split-second decision shape the story. Built around cinematic presentation and branching choices, it drops you into a situation where survival depends as much on who you trust as what you do. Bit like marriage then, really. What makes it worth watching is that familiar supermassive formula pushed into a space setting. Every choice carries weight, relationships can fracture quickly, and multiple outcomes encourage replaying to see how things unravel differently. If you enjoy tense, story-driven experiences with real consequences, this one belongs on your wishlist. Beyond Astra is a 4X strategy experience centered on guiding a civilization's expansion across a living galaxy, balancing exploration, diplomacy, and large-scale conflict as your empire grows. The focus is firmly on long-term planning and strategic decision-making rather than moment-to-moment tactics. What makes it worth watching is its clean systems-first approach to the genre. By aiming for clarity and scale over unnecessary complexity, it has the potential to appeal to both seasoned 4X players, a difficult bunch to please, and newcomers looking for a more accessible entry point. Beyond Astra is well worth keeping an eye on if you're in the mood for a deep but approachable galactic strategy game. Exodus is a cinematic sci-fi RPG centered on exploration, choice, and time-driven consequences. Set in a galaxy shaped by humanity's exile from Earth, you play a traveler sent beyond known space where your decisions can echo across years, altering relationships, missions, and how the wider story unfolds. What makes this one worth watching is that focus on long-term impact rather than short-term outcomes. The promise of choices that genuinely reshape the narrative, paired with high production values and a clear story-first approach, gives Exodus the potential to stand out among upcoming space RPGs heading into 26. There's also a series of novels around this one. I have it downstairs. I'm going to start, and once I finish it, I think we'll do a feature on this game. Starminer is an interstellar mining and fleet management sim where you design and build your own ships and stations, then take them out into dense asteroid fields to strip resources in real time. Every ship is constructed from parts, so mass, power and layout all affect how your creations actually fly and work out in the field. What makes it worth watching is how that building and mining loop ties into risk. Expanding your operation raises your profile, eventually attracting a hostile alien threat that forces you to turn industry into defense. If you like the idea of engineering chunky industrial ships and then stress testing them under pressure, Starminer is a very strong pick for 2026. It's also one of those titles that has been coming for a long time, so, it might make the 2027 list. Capital Command puts you in control of a massive capital ship on the edge of known space where a rogue AI has taken over local defense systems. You'll engage in tactical battles across a fully 3D space using realistic 6 degrees of freedom movement. It's not about dogfighting, it's about positioning, managing systems, and surviving brutal large-scale fleet encounters. From firing solutions to power allocation and damage control, every decision feels like it belongs on the bridge of a serious warship. What sets this one apart is its commitment to tactical realism and the feel of commanding a true capital vessel, something a lot of space gamers want. You're constantly shifting crew between critical systems, managing heat and energy, and adapting to the battlefield as enemy fleets bear down. With procedurally generated campaigns and 13 AI enemy capital ships already in play, Capital Command is shaping up to be something special. A grounded, immersive take on capital ship warfare that puts you in the command seat where every move counts. C-Beams is a top-down space action RPG that throws you into a hostile black hole system where survival is anything but guaranteed. You'll pilot a heavily customizable ship through gravity wells, debris fields, and faction-controlled zones, scrapping for resources, salvaging derelicts, and upgrading your systems along the way. From hull plating to engine thrust curves, every module affects how your ship handles under pressure. What makes C-Beam stand out is its emphasis on realism and ship control. You'll need to master inertia, precision maneuvering, and subsystem targeting, not just in combat but during high-risk salvage ops and trade runs. Boarding enemy ships, hacking cargo bays, and escaping with your hull is all part of the loop. This is one of those indie projects that feels both gritty and ambitious. If you like your space RPGs tactile, dangerous, and deeply systems-driven, keep an eye on this one. Falling Frontier is a grounded, tactical, real-time strategy game set in a procedurally generated star system on the brink of war. You'll command fleets across asteroid fields, gas giants, and shattered moons as you build out your infrastructure, scout enemy positions, and manage long, vulnerable supply lines. Developed by a solo creator with an eye for cinematic scale and hard sci-fi detail, the game emphasizes recon, logistics, and precision over brute force. This game is also wild in how many people really want it to come to fruition. Tom did a video on this, you should definitely check it out, and it went absolutely crazy. The demand is sky high. What sets Falling Frontier apart is how deeply it simulates every layer of conflict. Ships don't just shoot, they miss, ricochet, run dry on fuel, or lose subsystems to targeted hits. You'll manage captured officers, gather intel through interrogation, and plan ambushes using planetary line of sight. It's a kind of slow burn, high stakes strategy that rewards patience and planning. If you've ever wanted an RTS that treats space warfare with the seriousness of submarine command, this is one to keep a close eye on. It better come out after all the videos we've done. Starship Command Orion Spur is a hard sci-fi fleet command experience that puts you in direct control of capital ships during tense, real-time engagements with an emphasis on positioning, subsystem management and deliberate tactical decisions. Rather than fast arcade combat, it focuses on commanding ships at a systems level, where every order, power adjustment and maneuver matters. What makes it stand out is that commitment to authentic feeling command. The slower pace, detailed ship control and emphasis on tactical planning give it a weight that will appeal to fans of thoughtful space combat rather than reflex-driven dogfighting. If you enjoy space sims that make you feel like an actual commander, this one should be very high up your wishlist. SpaceCraft is an ambitious MMO sandbox where exploration, construction and large-scale industry unfold across a shared universe. Rather than pushing constant combat, it focuses on building ships, establishing production chains, and working within a persistent world where other players are shaping the same economy and space alongside you. What makes it worth watching is that MMO framing combined with long-term progression. The emphasis on cooperation, logistics and gradual expansion gives it a very different feel from more solo-focused space games. And if the systems come together as planned, this could appeal strongly to players looking for a slower, more communal space experience heading into 2026. In the Black is a hardcore space combat sim set in our own solar system 200 years in the future, where you fly fighters as a mercenary for ruthless megacorps. It's all about intense cockpit combat with a serious respect for real-world science, offering single-player contracts, co-op missions and 5v5 multiplayer across battlefields from Mars to Saturn's rings. This one is always worth including because of that focus on skill-based, believable space combat. With multiple fighter classes, deep loadout customization and modes that range from structured missions to arena-style battles, it's aiming squarely at players who want their space dogfighting to feel weighty, technical and rewarding to master. If you've been hunting for a more grounded alternative to arcade-style space shooters, make sure to check out the demo currently available and stick it on that wishlist because it's a big space game hopefully coming in 26. Starship Simulator is a deeply immersive space exploration sandbox that lets you live and work aboard a Magellan-class deep space vessel while you enjoy a scientifically grounded Milky Way. You have free run of every deck in first person, from the bridge to engineering to the officer's lounge. With fully simulated ship systems, a large NPC crew and a galaxy generated using real astrophysics ticking away outside the windows. This one is the dream space game and it fully leans into that actually live on a starship fantasy. Every button, conduit and role on the ship exists for a reason, and your journey is as much about managing the vessel and its crew as it is about scanning worlds, meeting alien life and deciding how to respond. If you've ever wanted something that sits between a Trek-style bridge sim and a full exploration sandbox, Starship Simulator is one of the most exciting slow burn space projects and should sit at the pinnacle of your wishlist.